God, if it don't feel good to be back. What? Why'd my camera go off? Hold on. Go back. Shh. You didn't see that. Gotta go here. Alright, hold on. Bear with me, bear with me. Activate. Fuck! Did my IP change again? I'm crying on the inside. Oh! Gay flags. There we go. Hello, focus. Oh my god. There we go. Alright. Having an interesting talk today. We're going to be talking capitalism versus socialism. I am not inherently either. Figured I'd find someone to argue more for the capitalism side because I don't think I need to be persuaded to accept socialism. I think I kind of think I need to practice arguing both sides of it and just see where my opinions fall after that. So I am about to hop in. I'm gonna go here. Message. Also meant to check out his stream of the guy I'm talking with. Hopefully he'll notice I'm there and pull me in momentarily. Actually, you know what? Oh, I do already have my stream up. Never mind. Volp. Is this the guy I'm talking with? I'd say he's live now, right? No, that's not him. Warning, my stream's already up. No tactical N-words today. My Bulbasaur fell. Hold on, I gotta fix this. Hell yeah. Alright, there we go. Oh, you can even tell it's a Bulbasaur. Look at that. He's backlit, nice and neat. If I open one of his clips, I can find him.
Like a lot of public.
Clipped by Hoodie Volp. That's his name. Oh, he's not even live. Are we not having a conversation live? Figured it was gonna be live. Alright. Oh, he doesn't go live until 8. Alright. Keep his stream up. Let's actually bring up mine. there we go. Keep his up. I'm bored. Maybe we'll do some piano while we wait. Piano time. Oh, ow. Ooh. Sorry, this thing has a really dumb feature where, like, you can hover over it with your mouse and it'll instantly start playing. I fucking hate that. Let me just turn down the volume of that real quick. We'll just chill for a bit. We can put that down there. Go. Hell yeah. I haven't played in a little bit, so let's see how much I remember. Okay, I remember that song. Let's see.
Hello.
Oh, hello! What's up?
What is up? I just got a starting soon screen on here, and I'm putting the final touches.
Let's all chill. I was just playing piano while I wait, so.
Nice. Okay.
Forgive me if I'm a bit scatterbrained. I literally haven't been home in the past 4 days, so.
No sweat. I'm high as fuck. So.
All right. You know what? I'll catch up with you. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, good. We got your cam. Let's see if I can get my cam working. If my OBS crashes, I'm gonna cry here. Hold on. Filters. The filters? Virtual camera.
When you stream, like, do you use your like OBS, or do you use like the stream manager on Twitch? Just curious.
I use OBS, yeah.
Okay.
I like messing with stuff like that, so. I'm a huge computer nerd, so.
Okay, cool. Maybe you can help me.
What's up?
I don't know. I just got an XLR mic, and I got the Elgato Wave XLR. So I'm just like messing with the software and trying to like figure everything out because I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. But I think I got it all set up. I set up all the correct channels within the Wavelength software, and I linked them all correctly in OBS and stuff. And I messed with the EQ a little bit on my mic.
If you're using it to talk to me, it sounds fine.
Okay. Yes, that's what I'm using.
All right, cool.
Let's see. I think I'm pretty solid. How does the mic sound, by the way?
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. I literally just got this like 3 hours ago, and I've just been setting it up. Promo the shit out of myself right now.
Oh, what the fuck is that? I'll go over here. There we go.
Alright, I'm ready when you are.
Cool.
Oh, thanks for the follow.
Yeah, I figured I have to maybe stalk your chat just as much as we talk.
Yeah. I think think I followed you already. Let's see.
I think so. Appreciate that. I don't know. Oh, you got 154 followers. You got the 5 times size on me. Scary, man.
Taking advantage of smaller streamers.
Whew. Just easy dunks, right?
Yeah, that's me. Short dunks a lot is what they call me. I do follow you. Okay, cool.
All right.
Let me switch this over here. I got this, and that works. Wow, I'm actually getting good at this, I think.
How long you been streaming for?
Well, I started up kind of like, let me turn off this music. I started up like a little over a year ago, and I was just basically streaming video games.
Okay.
And I kind of flaked. I was using an Xbox and a capture card and a shitty old laptop. And then I upgraded, bought a nice PC, and I was like, fuck it. I gotta use this beautiful piece of technology I just bought for something.
Yeah,
So here we are. What about you?
I used to stream. Do you know what Titanfall is?
Yes.
I was really fucking good at Titanfall 2.
Nice.
So I used to stream that in RuneScape because that's what would get me views.
Like old school RuneScape?
Yeah.
Nice.
And I think a little over a year ago, I got into politics because I didn't understand the whole trans thing. And I came across a small streamer. You might have heard of him. His name is Vosh.
Yeah.
And
maybe once or twice.
I watched all of his shit on trans people because I was just trying to understand it. And that introduced me to a lot of other topics and eventually into like the whole debate sphere and everything. And then I realized I think I might have some input on some of these things that some people don't bring to the table.
Sure, fuck yeah.
And that's where we are today.
Cool. So I'll give you a little backstory out of me because I think we probably are a little similar in that sense. Okay. I grew up in like a small town in New York, so it's like very conservative over here. So I just was like an internet kid and shit. So I listened to a lot of Ben Shapiro for a long time, like 2 years probably. Like after I graduated college or a little bit during college, I was listening to a lot of Ben Shapiro, a lot of right wing like commentary and stuff like that. Because from my perspective, I was like, oh, this guy's kind of like being a little bit honest in news reporting and stuff. And I was able to kind of be like, oh, you know, his some of these things I still disagree with, right? But like he delivers facts. And then he seemed to become more and more like a partisan hack.
Yeah.
And I was like watching his stuff, and I would just be disagreeing with every single thing he said, and I was like, this is just not me at this point. And then do you remember the video that Vosh did where he reacted to Ben Shapiro reacting to the systemic racism thing?
I believe so, yeah.
It's like this human centipede of reacting, right? But that's the first Vosh video I saw. And I was like, that kind of like really opened my eyes to like the leftist, like, I don't know, YouTube videos and Twitch and whatever. So then I became like a big Vosh fan, and then I was a Hassan fan for a while, and then Destiny, and I don't know where I fall nowadays. You know Heem?
Heem, yes, I know Heem.
Yeah, so Heem is basically like the only thing that I really, really enjoy these days.
I've never actually watched Heem, so maybe I'll give him a shot.
Oh, you should check out his new video. Did you see the video coming after Debate Bros or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he kind of like made a video essay, which he's never made a video essay before. He made a video essay about like, hey, like you guys need to chill. Like we're all kind of like, we need to be adults. We need to like, we're in this together. So you should check it out. It's an interesting video.
I will make sure to do that. I was going to add it to my phone, and then I realized my phone is my camera right now.
Oh, damn.
But, so essentially, the reason I wanted to have a conversation about capitalism and socialism, I was streaming maybe like a week and a half back, and this guy comes into my chat. We're not even talking about socialism or anything. And he just goes, socialism would never work, blah, 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 blah. And I thought it was very interesting because when I go, okay, why wouldn't it work? And he starts talking about social programs and then starts talking about state-controlled economies like China and North Korea and stuff like that. And, like, it just was really surprising to me how much people don't know what socialism is. And if you remember my message that I sent to you, I said I'm not inherently capitalist or socialist.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is, if I lived in a brand new country that started today, I don't know if I'd care which way it would go. And I'm just curious, your inputs, what you... Obviously, I want to hear what you think socialism is. I want to hear what people think of when they hear socialism.
Okay. So first, before we dive in, just give yourself a little intro, little plug, all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah. So, hi, I'm Honest Research. Trying to start streaming more than I used to. You can just call me Luke, by the way. Tend to lean left. My goal is to just provide sources and as straightforward and honest information as much as I can. I highly value...
Hold on. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. He's saying that he
can't hear me.
Hear you.
It's probably for the best. My voice is annoying.
I did all this work. Discord is supposed to go to Wavelength voice chat. Can you speak for me real quick?
Hello.
Okay, where am I picking up? Go again.
Hello.
What the fuck is happening?
Did you say... Are you streaming using OBS, did you say?
I'm using Streamlabs, the good stuff.
The good stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've heard some spicy takes about Streamlabs lately.
I don't understand what the problem is. I have Discord. Discord is there.
When I talk, does like the...
I hear you, but like the output is not like recognizing. I don't know what I'm hearing you through that.
Professional streamer.
Yeah, thanks, Sen. Sen is a big a pro-socialist guy. That was like my first like official debate. It was against Sen.
Oh.
He was telling me why socialism is dope as fuck.
Hey, son, don't get too excited. We're not gonna agree that much.
Do you have your computer sounds muted?
If you go in, I don't know how Streamlabs is set up.
It's like I have the audio source. It's supposed to be the way. It's just not picking up the correct audio for whatever reason. I don't.
You want to share your screen? Maybe it can help.
Yeah, sure. Let's see.
Well, excuse me.
What do I want to share? I have so many things that I need to share. Okay, like this real quick. If I show you Wavelength. So Discord should be coming in through this, but when you speak, nothing comes through here.
Okay, hit the little down arrow next to voice chat.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be voice chat, right? But then when I want to select what I need to do, I have to go into the sound mixer options, and I can show you that. So when I'm here, Discord is set up to be Wavelength voice chat output, but it's not like picking it up somehow. Can you talk again real quick?
Hello. Does the other one need to be Wavelength as well?
It like when you set one, it automatically does it.
No, I mean the input and the output.
I don't know.
Is it working now?
I don't know. That was the problem. This is truly mind-boggling here. Can you talk one more time?
Hello. Yeah, he's using Streamlabs.
This doesn't make sense. What is my headphones picking up that the stream is not?
It shouldn't be this complicated.
It really shouldn't. I knew this was gonna happen. Let's try. Hold on. Let's try. If I just. How do I do this? Let's try this. If I do this, can you talk now?
Hello.
This makes no fucking sense. Well, welcome to a fucking shit show.
If you go to Streamlabs.
Okay.
Can you bring up Streamlabs? Right. Let's see. Oh god. All right. So where it says mixer, click the cog next to Discord. Properties. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see the properties pop out, but it's saying the device is uh, set to the wavelength voice chat.
Set that to your headphones.
Just my headphones, Wave XLR headphones. Okay.
All right, now let's see if that
There,
works.
that fixed it.
Hey!
Yeah, there we go. Okay. So that's a temporary fix, I think, because I'm curious now if it's going to. I have like mic monitoring.
Hello,
No, I
can
don't
they
think
hear
it
me?
is.
Can you guys
Yeah,
hear
they
me?
should be able to hear you now. All right, we'll go with that. We'll go with that, I guess.
Yeah, I've had that exact same issue a bunch of times where I forget to output it to my. It's not sending to my headphones or whatever. But
Yeah.
right, let's go back to your camera.
Is this working still? Oops. Pop out chat. All right, there we go. Can you talk again real quick?
Hello, hello.
Yeah, there we go. All right, we're set. We're good to
Cool.
go here. All right, crisis semi-averted.
I like that debate tactic of making your opponent fix
Yeah.
your sound settings. No, it's cool.
How it works.
I love doing stuff like this.
Okay.
All right.
Makes one of us, I guess. Okay, so can you pose your inquiries to me one more time?
Okay, so essentially, I want to know, when you hear socialism, what do you think of?
Okay.
If you don't think socialism will work, what are your qualms with it?
Okay.
Obviously, we're going to have to phrase what socialism is before we can get into that, because if we have a disagreement on that, then it doesn't really matter. And then just overall, what your thoughts of why people maybe don't understand what you mean when you say like market socialism and stuff like that.
Okay, so when I think socialism, I think worker-owned, worker-managed, operated, owning the means of production.
Okay.
I don't really at all like if unless you specify otherwise, I don't immediately jump to planned economy or communist like bullshit, anything like that. I definitely recognize the merits of socialism and the potential, right? But the problem that I have comes there's a few things like so we're kind of in agreement on what socialism actually is. Then
Yeah.
I would agree. Imagine. Okay. So my contentions with socialism are the ways in which that you can generate capital as a socialist, a forced socialist economy. So typically, most businesses are started with capital raising. You need to raise money to start your business. Not most businesses don't start with like owner funding, right? They got to go out and get capital. And if capital owners, the people who are giving you that capital, have no incentive, or there's no incentive for the business they're investing in to return a profit to them, it de-incentivizes them from making that initial investment. That's one of my biggest contentions. And my solution in general, because I don't think that capitalism is the be all end all in the current state of it. I think it's actually trash. I want more worker board representation. I want more more democracy in the workplace. Like I want workers to have a say. I think that there needs to be standards set in place, like guaranteed paid time off, sick leave, health benefits, all that kind of stuff. Unions. I'm a big union fan. I think when they're run properly, it's better for the worker. What I care most about, right, in that sense, is the happiness of the worker, because the happiness of workers generates happiness generates like a good business, a well-performing business, right? That's a proven thing. So
Sure.
Okay.
When I think of returning on capital investments, two things come to mind. First is, let's say you are going to give equity to a business privately. So I'm going to give you this money, and you're going to give me XYZ return.
Okay.
There are ways of doing that without giving them stock or control of the company. And this kind of brings me to my second point: banks. If you take out a business loan from the bank, they don't have control necessarily of the company, but they expect interest or return on your payments over time, if that makes sense.
Sure. So I think if you want to look at it in terms of like, say, a bank, right? look at a loan in that sense. You want to take out a loan like the the best reference I could compare it to is like a bond in a company. That's what comes to mind first.
Right.
So like when an investor buys a bond in a company, there's essentially a guaranteed return on that bond. It's typically lower. So I could probably instantly cop to that being um a beneficial way to raise capital, right? But the kind of point that eats at me a little bit is the workers themselves, or they have no I mean, I don't know. I'm like I'm kind of like in your boat, right? Like I'm not necessarily sold either way completely, but I think that what's wrong with capitalism right now can be fixed in a sense that's not like uprooting the entire system
Right.
to make a new system, right? Because we see that like in its like raw form, and I'm not like a anti-regulation kind of guy either, but like in its like in a well-regulated system, I think capitalism functions well. It brings people out of poverty. Like, I'm not to be like a data douche, but like capitalism has risen the most people out of poverty than any other economic system. But you could also probably attribute that to like this world as a whole, like evolving
Yeah. So
as a species, right?
yeah, because I always hear from like super leftists, like tankies.
Mm-hmm.
I always hear, well, you could have made the same argument when we talk about monarchy bringing us out of the Stone Age and this and that. So
Yeah.
whatever system is the current,
Right. The predominant
yeah,
system
exactly,
when
is
like
always gonna
society's
be,
evolving.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I guess I think you were starting to touch on it, but something that okay, I don't know if you saw Vosh's conversation where he started talking about it was with Econ Boy. He was talking about
Okay.
how you get a job, and Econ Boy brought up you need to buy your way into the company, and Vosh, to my surprise, disagreed with that, saying you don't need to buy your way into the company, you're just given stock. So I I'm actually going to turn the table on you. I'm going to ask, if let's say we're in a socialist society, how do you think we would be able to buy your way into a company? How does that initially look? How do you get that initial capital? So like if it's your first job, how do you buy your way into a company is what I'm
Yeah.
curious about. Do you have it? Do
Yeah,
you have any
so
initial
I'm
thoughts
sorry.
on that, or
I I find it tough. I think like does it have to be you buy your way in? Like can't there be some kind of like I actually had this conversation uh I'm sorry, hold on one second. Luca, I'll let you in like a little while, but I do want to like hash out a little conversation
Luca? We
first.
might need you. We might not disagree
Yeah.
on as much as I
I know. Yeah,
thought.
I know. Luca's a raging socialist. Maybe we'll get Sen in here too,
All right, all
because
right.
it'll be a fucking 4 against 1, and I'll get dogpiled. So, okay. So, uh, Sen I think brought up this point. It's like you should still have like contractors and stuff in a socialist society, right? Because every business should not have to have a plumber on staff at all times, right?
Right,
So,
and that. Okay, this is actually another one of the reasons why I really wanted to talk about this. Every time socialism comes up, private contractors. That sounds very
yeah,
capitalist. Yeah. So I guess my initial point, I don't hear enough people talking about this, is that initial buy-in is what actually holds me back from socialism a lot. It makes me wonder if, how do I put it? If when you buy into the company, you essentially, it's taken from your wage and you're paying
sure.
the other part owners for your share over time. That just ends up sounding like social capitalism with extra steps to
Well,
me.
what I think honestly, why again to kind of draw it back to our idea of socialism, why do you even necessarily need to buy into a company? Why it's in my mind, all you need is to be given the fair fruits of your labor. So like you get hired to be a plumber, you can kind of relate this to the contractor thing. You get hired to be a plumber, you pay them $50 an hour, and they're on their way. They do your plumbing. You need to hire somebody to be a cashier, and they are the best cashier you've ever had, and people buy a lot more shit seemingly when that person is the cashier than the other schmuck. So that person who's the better cashier gets a better wage. and they get a bigger share of the profits, right? Because everything is in a profit sharing sense. So I'm not expecting that like me and you go and start like a dispensary or some shit, and we need to hire a bud tender or whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't expect that we're gonna like instantly give them a part of our business. And how would we be able to gather employees if we required everyone to buy into our company?
So that's what I'm saying, is if,
Yeah.
one, maybe, again, we talk about banks taking out a bank loan. If you're going to be guaranteed a certain wage, your new job that you're buying into is going to sign off on that. It's the same as initial capital investment to any company, right? Option number two is your the business you're buying into essentially acts as the loaner.
Okay.
Everyone is partially selling you part of their share. You don't actually pay them up front. They get paid over time from what would essentially be drawn from your wages.
Sure. Okay.
And to go back to, you say everyone making their fair share, I think that's one of the things that I have a really love-hate relationship with socialism about, is that I instantly think of, if I own part of my company, I'm gonna put in the fucking work. Like,
Sure.
if my work directly reflects on the company, not to
Yeah.
mention, if I want the company to do better and I want to make more money, it makes more sense for my to reinvest back into the company and not just
Yeah.
take all the wage for myself. So it ends up benefiting everyone in the end.
Yes.
And here, if you want to respond, sorry, I lost my train of
No,
thought.
so where does that take you though? Like, what does that train of thought they just had, does that lead you to be pro socialism? Does that lead you to want to, tweak some things of socialism to kind of make it so that the buy-in thing is not as impactful on like is not as like a deterrent, but it also like you don't want your owner and CEO of the company who's devoted their life to this to be like having to share the money with the janitor.
Um, okay, so first to respond to that last point, the thing that, when we talk about the CEO having to share that with the janitor, one, we already talked about private contracting, contract cleaning
Yeah,
company, or
like maybe the janitor is not the best example, but just like,
okay, the secretary. Let's
uh,
say the secretary. You
sure,
need a
sure.
secretary. But that's
Yes.
kind of the point, is, oh yeah, this is where I was going to go with it actually. You
Okay, nice.
need that secretary. So for
Mhm.
instance, I'm a martial arts instructor.
Okay.
If you didn't have instructors, you wouldn't have a business,
Right.
right? And obviously well, I shouldn't say obviously, because I don't think even a lot of socialist people get this. Not everyone needs to get paid the same amount. Just everyone
Yes.
has a say in what those pay structures look like.
Sure. Sure. So that leads me to then just say, okay, you can do that by having worker board representation in a capitalist system. You get unions to like say, hey, our entire my so for example, my dad works for a union. He's in a healthcare workers union, and they like lobby essentially against the company that they work for that's hired their
Right.
employees. Like they are guaranteed X amount of days off. If conditions change, the labor union says, we expect this because this just happened. Like people got fired, a bunch of people quit. So now you're short staffed. Well, now or you're gonna have to start paying overtime at a different rate, or you're gonna have to start doing this and that. So I think that's a pretty holistic solution to just board. Yeah, because the board of a company, is responsible for the majority of decisions, and like you said, um, the board. I'm sorry, the worker is required to make the company exist, to allow the company to exist, right? So,
Right.
like, I'll use an anecdote. Yeah, you go ahead. You go
No, no,
ahead.
no, no. Go ahead. I'm
So
not
I'll
gonna
use
lose
a
this one. So.
Okay, so I'll use an anecdotal example. I work for a company that sells baby clothes,
Mhm.
and I'm like the manager of all of our operations for e-commerce.
Right.
So I kind of like run the day to day, but I have 50 people working in the warehouse picking and packing all the orders. And I'm not the boss, right? I'm not the big boss, so I don't get to decide people's pay, and I don't there's no sort of like unionization, so people get paid minimum wage. But like in this situation, your business would we're like a $200+ million a year business.
Right.
The business would not exist at all, and then it's a completely privately owned, like it's like a family business. The business would not exist if it weren't for these workers, and you're paying them as little as physically possible. The only time that they get a raise is when the minimum wage goes up. So like in the position that I take now, I have the ability to advocate for people to get more pay. So that's what I take that opportunity to do, right? So I think there are tweaks that could be made to the system to allow for workers to be better represented. Like you look at like Italy, for example, where they have a guaranteed. I'm sorry, let's go with like the UK. They have like a guaranteed 25 days paid. They get all the federal holidays. They get, and like if you look at like the happiness of employees in Italy and UK and stuff like that, where vacation is guaranteed, it's like significantly better. The people at those companies do significantly better. Or I'm sorry, the companies themselves do significantly better.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, like when they're happy or when they feel a vested interest in the business, they want to do better because it directly impacts them as well.
Okay, I'm gonna pose a couple of questions, and
Shoot.
I'm gonna warn you now. It's half to trap you.
Okay, do it.
So, the first one is, what is the goal of the consumer when they're going to purchase a product?
What is the goal of the consumer?
Right.
Cheap, good quality. I mean, you want the best quality for the littlest dollars.
Okay. All right. What is the goal of the workers when they unionize?
The workers, when they unionize, specifically when they unionize, what is their goal?
Mm-hmm.
Just to be better represented within their company, I guess. To have more power in this situation.
Okay, I want to take it a step further. Why do they want that power? 9 times out of 10.
Because they're inherently being exploited, right?
Okay, so you would say for wages, right?
In like a Marxian sense, right? They're inherently being exploited because they're not getting like
because the
excess
excess value, everything.
Yeah.
Now, the problem that I have when we talk about unions is they're not serving the best interest of the company. They're wanting to serve the best interest of themselves. So when we talk about someone buying into a company, now they own a share of that company. Well, they get that say in the company, but they also are now going to be incentivized to do what's best for the company, which is going to be better for the consumers.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, is better for the consumers. It's better for the owners, which is them, as well as any wage-based pay, because if the company does better, they do better, you know?
Yeah. Say that last part again. I'm sorry, my cat was distracting me. Look at this guy. Oh, wait, wrong camera. Look at him. He's just so cute. Say that last part again.
Yeah. So,
go ahead.
When you are just a worker, you're incentivized to try to get, kind of like when we talk about the consumer, best quality, cheapest product. When you're the worker, you're trying to get the most pay for the least work, right?
Or if you feel no vested interest in the company.
And that's the big kicker is yes, there are ways to, for instance, incentives, bonuses, to incentivize more work. If there's still excess value being scraped off of that, there's some level where some people aren't going to work as hard as they possibly could have if all that excess value they had a say in, if that makes sense.
Okay. All of the excess value.
Right, because if you're part owner, you have a say in that value, whereas if you're not an owner at all and you're just unionized, you can have a say in your pay, but that's about it.
Yeah. But don't you think that there's some hold on one second.
Oh, that's okay. I'm gonna respond to Science real quick. Make sure you use your Twitch Prime subscription and you won't get ads.
True. How about that instead? Let's see.
Something else I wanted to say going off of that is I suppose
I specifically gifted it to Sen, but okay, I guess not. Kyle Bar 18. Hey Kyle, what's up, man? Thank you for being in here, and I guess you have a sub now. Okay. I'm just trying to be a good friend, Sen. Okay. So
instead
Uh,
of in uh crap, now I lost it again.
no, you were saying that there's no way to really make workers be incentivized
Oh
unless
yeah,
you're
which
giving them part
which
ownership.
also brings up the really good question that I always have, and it really sucks because union structures, let's face it, they just don't work for every business, especially much smaller businesses, right? Because the goals of the workers need to be aligned. You need to have enough of a say and not be as easily replaceable.
Yeah.
Um, but then it also brings up the question: who? I'm saying this in the most like who has the most experience with the production line?
Sure.
Not necessarily the manager, not necessarily the owner. The
No.
workers do, and they would maybe have some input that might be missed if they don't have an
Yeah.
actual say.
Yeah. And I think again, I'll bring it back to like just the culture of a company. I think plays a big role, and obviously like pay and monetary compensation is very important.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like you can, I do think that the inherent risk of like of investing capital, right? You deserve some sort of like profit. You're investing that capital. Like
Right.
anecdotal examples are my favorite, I guess, tonight. But some
No,
guy
I love
spends
them.
their
Go for
whole
it.
some guy spends their whole life like saving up, and they drop $100,000 into like their new business.
Mm-hmm.
And don't you think that they now deserve to get some reap some benefit of that?
Well,
Um,
that's where it come. That's where I think the buy-in is such a big part of the talk. You're
right.
going into it. You
So
want to
you
be.
so I'm sorry to cut you off, but
Mhm.
in your socialist system, you want there to be that buy-in.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
I don't see any reason I would ever start a business if I could just go and join a business. Um, I have heard that, well, technically they can never have that excess value and they will never have any workers unless that just seems so dumb to me because they, you need to have some sort of incentive. If you don't have some sort of
Yeah.
incentive for an action, it's never going to happen. Especially if there's consequences and huge risks. I know socialists hate hearing about this. Business owners are taking massive risks when they start companies, right?
Right. That's what I kind of say, right?
Yeah.
But then again, to kind of we're basically just both devils advocating the shit out of each other here, and I'm here for it. But basically, what I was gonna say there is now, okay, we agree that they're taking there's an inherent risk in investing your capital, but if you with a group of 5 people all invest your capital, you all have that same shared risk, and you all have the same objective, which is to make that business succeed, so you don't
Exactly.
lose all your fucking money. So, go ahead.
This actually reminds me. So, I can't remember. It's one of the Nordic countries.
Okay.
And I used to hear everyone call them socialists, and I used to get mad at them because I'm like, no, they're social capitalists, blah 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 blah. But then it turns out there's this really weird system that they're doing. I can't. I want to say Sweden, but I can't say for certain. Where essentially you buy into the market itself, and when the GDP of the country does better, you get more of a return.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was a very interesting way to have everyone invested in the economy without having this massive buy-in into a company or
Hmm.
anything.
Yeah, so the best example that I have for that is like the Are you
Oh,
from the United
he,
States?
he says, Sen says Norway. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Are you from the United States?
I am. Yes.
Okay, so like do you know about like the Alaskan like UBI basically?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's like that, right? Because the economy of the state is benefiting greatly. So because of resources within the state or whatever, so you pay the fucking people to just exist. Like here,
Hmm.
like look, our state is doing well. Like our country, our United States, the richest country in the world, is like eating up. So here's $1,000 a month for UBI because like you're a citizen that contributes and yada yada. So like that is again, that's for me like an argument against socialism because you can fix these things. You can get people. You can create a vested interest within a nation or a company by like while still quote unquote exploiting people because you're inherently
Right.
exploiting anyone in a Marxian sense, I guess. So you can still generate like good outcomes for employees. You can still generate like profitable businesses. But like I think probably the biggest problem in general that stops all this from happening is like just rampant consumerism. Because like even like me for example, like I talk about like consumerism is destroying this world, but like I bought this mic yesterday and I picked this specific XLR cable because it would come in one fucking day because I didn't want to wait 2 days.
Yeah.
So like
Um,
the consumer is incentivizing Amazon's exploitation of their fucking labor. Like there's I'm sure you've seen the stories of people having to like fucking pee in bottles and shit in bags and stuff like that, and Amazon drivers. And so like that obviously is not good. But in a situation where the sole objective is profit margin, and regardless of human life or human, anything, like that's what's gonna happen, I guess, right?
yeah. Um,
Like pay people, like give people all these benefits and all these incentives, and I think that they will be happy to go to fucking work if they make what they deem to be. And I'm sure this is a very like it's uh it's basically we need regulation. The debate is just a matter of degree.
well,
Yes.
100%. You're hitting the nail on the head. Why did it? What was the issue recently with there being employment issues, right? Well, I have at first heard everyone going, "Oh, it's because no one wants to go back to work because of the all the COVID benefits, blah blah blah."
Yeah.
And then you look at the unemployment numbers. Wait, no, they're back at and sometimes below in certain areas. It's that we're literally having a worker shortage, so people have
Right.
more of a say on where they're going to work. That's why the
Exactly.
wages go up. Yeah,
Yeah, you have a lot more power in the hands of the worker in like today's situation. And even like we're acknowledging that at like my job, we're like having to pay people a little bit more to hire them now because we're like offering people minimum wage, and like they're not taking the job. They can go to Dunkin' Donuts and get $15 an hour. So I'm like, you're requiring people like so okay, quick like sidebar question.
mm-hmm.
Are you for like $15 minimum wage, like federally implemented?
If we do it the way that Massachusetts implemented it, yes, where it's a
Okay, tell me
tiered,
about that because I have, yeah.
it basically just goes up over time. It's
Okay,
okay.
yeah, yeah, like
It's
it's
seven twenty
easing
five
into it, right?
now, and yeah,
Yeah,
next year it'll be 8, and then 9, and then by such and such a year it's 15.
yeah. I think I like that. But then my counter argument to that is places like I don't know, Kentucky, where the minimum wage is like $8 right now, but like the cost of living, I think you need to the objective. I think as opposed to like a set in stone dollar amount would, in my eyes, be a some sort of measurement between cost of living and pay scale. Like if you look, I was in an argument the other day on Twitter with some like, do you know M More Perfect Union?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I was arguing with him on Twitter, and he saying he was in Mexico, and the workers just worked really hard and kept their mouths shut. And I was like, okay, but like they're obviously like being taken advantage of. And he's
Yeah,
like, just
wait.
work
They do the
harder.
same in China. Do we want to see
Yeah.
who's happier, them or us? I
Yeah.
mean,
So I got into an argument with him, like, dude, workers need some sort of like representation. And yeah, I forget where was I about to just go with that.
we were talking about minimum
Oh
wage.
yeah, right. So like the minimum wage, I think the minimum wage argument should be oh, here we go, here we go. So I said like basically I came to the point like, yo, dude, the American dream is dead. Like you can't graduate high school and get a job and then in 5 years own a house and raise a fucking family off one income. That doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
And he was like, you just gotta like work harder and like bootstrap that shit. Um, but so that draws me to like what I would be more concerned about as opposed to just setting a $15 minimum wage is keeping that cost of living to pay ratio in like a feasible ballpark, I guess. Like because if you just jack up the minimum wage in some state where like the cost of living is super cheap, you instantly just drive up the price of everything within that community.
And that's why I do hear a lot of times uh I don't like the idea of a federal minimum wage. Obviously there should be like a federal minimum, but like if the cost of living is so much higher in like California, then there should be a higher mandated minimum wage there. Whereas if we're talking about freaking North Carolina, where property's dirt cheap and like gas is like way less expensive, you know?
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, but I think I don't know. I think we would both agree that we like a UBI, right?
Have you heard of Mincome?
No.
Okay, so what Mincome is instead of a UBI, because I'll explain in a second why I don't exactly like UBI. The cool thing about Mincome is instead of a UBI where everyone gets everyone gets $1,000, it's everyone will make at least $1,000 a month. If you make under that, we're gonna pay you to be at that level.
Interesting.
The cool thing that I saw from experiments about this, it made small businesses a lot healthier because they were a lot easier to get a loan without having to go and save up for several years. And so the business market was a lot more fluid, which is always nice. And it brings me to my problem with UBI. If we give $1,000 to everyone in a certain market, the market's going to reflect that and inflate in certain ways.
Yeah. Right, that $1,000 is not going to get you nearly the same it gets you in New York versus like Alabama.
And that's another issue. So that okay, so and another argument that you often hear is let's talk about food stamps. Well, you hear people you hear people say they're taking advantage of the welfare system because if they make too much money, they instantly get that taken away. And having a tiered system of Mincome where you start losing that money, but you get more freedom as you earn your money because now you don't have to spend those food stamps on this particular thing. You can
it's
take
just money.
Exactly. Now it's just money. If you did want to go get some beer now, you can go do that, you know?
Yeah, so I'm curious exactly what Australia's policy is on this, but like for EBT, people who would get EBT, similar thing in Australia, they just get given cash. Like you just give them, like people who need welfare, okay, here's a cash in your pocket, and it works because the people they spend their money on what they need, and like they're not gonna let themselves go hungry. I don't think, right?
And that's something I do fucking love is when
like
someone goes,
people are like, poor people are dumb.
Yeah, like they're
like dumb poor.
Most of them still want to live. Like
yes, and I got into an argument. I had a stream last night with a bunch of my college friends, and we were talking about it's kind of off topic here, but the clean needle program.
Okay.
And this kid is making an argument that like you're incentivizing drug use, okay? Which maybe you are, but like a heroin addict is going to shoot up heroin regardless. So if they're using a dirty needle or a clean needle, they're gonna use a needle. So you might as well give them a clean needle so that they don't fucking spread HIV.
Oh, sorry. Here, keep talking. Sorry, I'm gonna mute for a second.
Yeah. Politics streamers never able to stop talking about politics. Dude, what do you want, Sen? All you do is fucking you talk politics and play Pokemon, okay?
All right. You know what, Sen? You might be my new best friend.
Did you play the new Pokemon?
I have finished my Pokédex.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. So you're a sweat.
Yeah. As soon as I heard you could do it by yourself, I'm like, great. I don't have friends. Let's do this.
Yeah. So, that's cool. I haven't played it myself. One of the streamers I watch like played through it, and like the only beef that I seem to have with it is the like ridiculously long intro, like hand holding bullshit.
Everyone keeps saying that. It's so much faster than frickin' Mega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, which were banger games anyway. So like
I didn't play those either.
There's a lot of hand holding and it's super fucking easy, but it was good. I don't know.
Are you a Zelda fan?
Hold on. I'll add this. Socialism failed in the USSR and Eastern Europe. Are you commies too damn dumb to learn from your mistakes? All right, nice. So Scrub Lord, I know you've come into my chat and said some dumb shit like this in the past, all right?
Oh, wait, let me pull up your chat. I have it just minimized.
We've had the conversation. Those are state-controlled economies. Volp and I are able to have a much more nuanced conversation because we understand that not all socialist societies are state-controlled economies.
Yes. Worker controlled, baby. That's what I care about.
I, you know what? I actually kind of hate. I don't entirely understand this. When people say socialism, why do we? It kind of rubs me the wrong way that we call North Korea, China, and Cuba, and Venezuela. We call those the same thing that we call Norway. Why? They're so vastly fucking different. W.C. Fields said, "There is a dumbass socialist born every minute."
Does Scrub Lord want to hop in the call right now? Because, like,
wait.
He's making some.
Okay, wait, Volp, hear me out. You want to have some real content?
Oh god.
All right, we're gonna have a Pokeball politics fight. I'm gonna get Scrub Lord in, and you're going to get
Sen.
Sen. Yeah.
Does Sen want to come in? Let's see.
Yeah, Sen. Sorry, we didn't disagree as much as I thought
Sen,
we would.
I choose you. You'll be my champion.
Yeah, Scrub Lord, you need an invite?
Yeah, I have a Discord link if you want to send it over. Or I'll just put it in your chat, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, that's essentially my biggest qualms. I'm gonna say this now that we're getting Sen in. I don't see
Sen said he already destroyed Scrub Lord, so there's no point. I guess the fight was over before it began.
Oh, Scrub Lord like hops around? All right.
I guess.
Scrub Lord, you're cheating on me.
Lord from somebody's chat.
No. I want to hear it because I want to hear someone. I want to hear someone who just can't wrap their head around what a state-controlled versus a worker-controlled economy is.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, man. But like, I think the problem is people are victims, bro. If you wanna, I'll get on this. I'll get on this rabbit hole of mine. Donut, what's up, pal? So this rabbit hole of mine is that wait, where was I going with that? I got so distracted. I can't smoke before I do these things, okay? Because like my brain just evaporates out of my fucking skull.
This is the second conversation I've ever had on stream. The first one was when we were on that the COVID panel.
Yeah.
I was so fucking nervous.
Me
like,
too. I feel that.
My partner saw that I was shaking on screen, and she came in, gave me my like weed drops.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm gonna freaking die. Scrub Lord. Well, if you get in here, I would love to explain it to you. Please.
Dude, yeah, we're not. But Scrub Lord is not even engaging with our points.
Well, that's what I okay, that's another thing.
Whatever. I'm not sure, but they're not engaging.
Whoa, way to assume. Come on, Volp.
I'm sorry.
No, but I want someone to come in. I want them to explain the thought process of why they can't understand what the difference between worker-controlled versus state.
I have a good idea. Okay, I did a panel, like a thrown together panel last night. Okay, and it was like with a bunch of my college friends who are all like pretty diehard capitalists. So like maybe, and I'm trying to have that be a recurring thing. So maybe next week we can get you in, and we will you'll talk to a bunch of people who do not know the difference, and maybe we can try and explain it to them.
I like that. I like that idea. Send to join.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say one thing, and then we could yank Sen in if he wants to give us a socialist spew. People are victims. That's where I was gonna go with this before. Like, my big thing about like being at streaming politics and stuff, I think that we need to bring empathy back into like the political sphere, I guess, because like when you view people as like the other and then you strip away their humanity, you see nothing but red, essentially, right? Like when people say that, like, it's this, it goes on both sides, right? when people say that Black Lives Matter was all riots and looting and chaos, that's ridiculously hyperbolic.
And it doesn't matter how many numbers you show them, they're never going to
Right.
agree with you.
No,
Yeah.
never. And then you also simultaneously look at like the way that the left treats any sort of right-wing movement or protest. It's like these neo-Nazi terrorists are doing this and that. It's like obviously you're gonna sow division when you're so otherizing, when you are every single person who disagrees with you is like the other, and there's no humanity. Like, do you know it's a small new streamer, and I'm not trying to like call him out, but like Fresh Faces New Ideas.
I have not.
So he like his stream title today was like, we need to stop treating these ghouls as people. And I'm like, dude, that's just so like counterintuitive. Like I just think like empathy is what we lack so strongly, and it's just this constant vicious cycle of like people getting fed misinformation and then like hating the other for they hate each other now, and then this person hates that person. It's like you constantly like love thy neighbor. I don't can just we're all human beings. Like I don't understand why I don't know. People are so susceptible. People are super susceptible to misinformation, I guess, right? Do you know? I mean, not even necessarily misinformation, just they're susceptible to information in general.
Right.
Have you seen the Great Hack?
Sounds familiar. Go on.
It's a Netflix documentary about Cambridge Analytica, which is the company that
The Facebook one, right?
The Facebook shit.
Yeah.
Bro, they had 5,000 data points on every single U.S. voter.
Yeah.
And they deemed people quote unquote the impressionables, and they fed them pro-Trump shit. Fed them like down their throats pro-Trump shit, and it worked. It obviously fucking worked. They created Crooked Hillary. Cambridge Analytica created the Crooked Hillary meme or whatever.
Seriously?
Yeah. So I think you need. I mean, just what is the problem? That people are just like inherently like just believe everything they say. No one wants to take that extra step to critically think or whatever. I mean,
I think this is.
Sorry for the ramble.
No, it's all good. I've been thinking about this a lot, especially because, like you mentioned, the Vosh debate bro thing coming up, and it's a really big question of, and I agree with this criticism, if we are going to have these big platforms, fan bases are going to be made. And people are going to...
It's a good way of putting it, like a fan base, right? Not even just like a political base. It's like a literal fan base.
Yeah, and that's something I've been very careful of. There are certain things I like hearing from Vosh, that I like hearing from Destiny.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of a right-wing streamer I like. Hold on. But there's like...
Counterpoints.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Counter, whatever.
But
he's like a pretty rational guy, right? But yeah, go ahead.
And there are certain things that I like about these people, but I'm not fans of the people. Like, whenever they post a video that's just them playing video games and talking about nonsense, I don't give a damn. But that's the problem, is people are forming these big groups and fan bases, and it's not that they agree with what Trump says, it's that they like Trump now. Or they don't. It's not necessarily that they agree with what Bernie says, or not Bernie, Biden. It's not like they agree with Biden. It's just they like Biden, and they're going to agree with their team no matter the dumbest shit, right? You've heard, what was it that Trump said? He could go out, shoot someone in the street, and people would still vote for him.
His supporters would still be,
And I don't disagree with that. Like, it's kind of true.
Well, I'm gonna try and get Luca in here, and we can.
Hell yeah.
We'll have a big party. Let's see. Hold on. Let me yank Sen in.
Good, because I'm dying and I need someone to talk.
Okay, that was loud.
I've given up on Destiny. Look, Sens.
All right, let's hear
Destiny
why
and
Sen
Vosh
has
have
given
been
up on Destiny.
pissing me off. Go for it.
Okay, do you guys? I want to hear Sen's opinion. Is Sen done with Destiny because of his like stealthing take that he gave recently?
Oh, hi.
Hi, Sen.
Hi, Sen.
It's more just a pattern of behavior at this point.
He's a sociopath, is what you think.
Yes, that's exactly what I think. Thank you for assuming that from me saying it's a pattern of behavior.
Yes.
Can I ask, are you talking about the Anna thing?
Oh no, I actually have like managed to completely uh never learn anything about the
I'm
Anna
jealous of you. I'm
situation.
very jealous of you.
Yeah.
It seems like such like that in particular. I spent a lot of time in the dumb drama of Twitch, but
Mm.
that in particular just seems like such pointless drama. I've managed to never, no matter how many streams Eris makes about it, I've never learned
I
anything about it.
yeah.
The only videos that get suggested for me from Eris are about Anna, and I'm like, no, I actually want to watch Eris for other stuff. Like, she seems like a really good time, you know?
Eris has some like really good historical videos on like the history of Jews and stuff, and I'm like, I want to hear about that. I'm done with Anna.
All right, Sen, how does America transition to socialism?
Oh, I can send you my document.
No.
No, I want you to rant. I want you to send me your document as well, but I also want you to rant.
I that's been the big thing I've been thinking about since I started streaming. I have this massive document, and I've concluded that there are four things that need to take place before anything can be fully transitioned.
Okay.
Break it down.
First one, very basic. You need to have a level of education and increase. This is basic Marxism. You need to increase class consciousness and have people understand the actual value of transitioning to a system like this.
Can I
Like,
stop
if
you for a
people
second?
don't know, hmm
Just each point, I want to give an example. So,
yeah,
for instance, Scrub Lord, if we can't get everyone understanding what we mean when we talk about a worker controlled society, there's no way that transition's going to happen. Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't even say everyone. I guess like understanding rather
Right,
than
like
being
a
supporting. I
understanding
would
and a
say a
majority of
strong majority.
people
Yeah.
at least understanding. Okay.
hmm And to
Easy.
get rid of that Cold War era propaganda, which
Right.
is
True.
what you guys were dealing with. Number two, you need to increase the basic control the majority has over the government. If you're going to transition, you need to make it as democratic as possible. This means fighting back against gerrymandering. This means all this stuff. There's a ton of stuff. Fighting back against gerrymandering, expanding the Senate, uh, abolishing the Electoral College. I'm like even more extreme, and I want to heavily regulate the political parties so that primaries are like gone. I think the way that we run primaries in this country are insane. Uh, all that kind of stuff, so
Well, what
that
kind of
if
got me about
you
the primaries,
Mhm.
like the whole Democratic primary, right? Like all these
Yeah.
guys just dropped out. All these people just dropped out, and they're like, "Yeah, we're just gonna support Biden now." Like, why can't you just like let that shit like let someone win in like the marketplace of ideas or like policy as opposed to just being like, "Yeah, we can't win. None of us can win." I mean, I don't know because the problem is like you want to send your best against Trump or something, right?
The
Is
crazy
that
thing about the primaries to me is the Democratic primaries are worse than the Republican primaries. It like legitimately shocks me. I
okay?
think while I'm not a fan of either, I think the way that we run it is kind of dumb. We still do what's it called that where you have to go and stand with your person for like 8 hours in order to vote in some states. Uh,
No idea.
like we still have some like arcane ways that we run it, but like the way that I view the primaries, the legislation on it has been interesting. So it used to be parties could pick whoever they wanted, right? You
Right.
could run whichever person you wanted. And then they expanded it to be somewhat democratic. Black people obviously couldn't vote in them, but they expanded it to be somewhat democratic. And then we passed legislation that required it so everyone who was a member of that party could vote in that party, regardless of their race, which I think personally was a good thing to do. And I would extend that logic and apply a similar regulation to fix it and have it abolish any kind of super delegate system, have it be a concise election where it doesn't happen slowly over time. You don't have some kind of
Do you
a Super
think
Tuesday
that
event, all that kind of stuff.
the issue with primaries is more of an issue with the two party system rather than the primaries themselves?
I think the two party system is certainly a problem, but I wouldn't trust the Libertarian Party to do any better.
Uh,
uh,
I guess let me explain it like this. So in
I think there are both problems. I think the problem that I have with both is that the fact that political parties are a private institution, which is insane to me.
right,
True.
but if let's use an example. If you have a tiered voting system,
Mhm.
it if we continue to let parties be private institutions, it wouldn't matter as much if we're going to have a tiered system that's going to be more fair at deciding who it is. The problem that I have is we have a system right now that incentivizes there to be two possible candidates because you're not going to vote for anybody else. You're wasting your vote if you vote for anybody else. And I think that's more the issue. The issue is more the two-party than the primaries. I kind of like the primaries because I feel like it adds democracy to a system that's kind of fucked.
Yeah, certainly. I'm very in favor of ranked choice voting eventually. I actually don't think it's a super priority, but I
Yeah,
am in
no.
favor of it. The big thing that I would talk about is super delegates. Those are like far worse. I don't know if it's hard to remember back to the 2016 era, but like the days where Bernie would win states, but Hillary would win the state because she got the super delegates, even though Bernie won the majority, was insane to me. I'm like, if you ever want to talk about rigging an election, that seems like
Well, here's my
the way it was done.
here's my
But
problem with why
regardless.
I don't care. I feel like the responsibility of the party is to propose a candidate that is most going to align with the interests of its base, which is the people. And if it aligns
Mhm.
with the people, and then your next priority is to make sure that your candidate is actually electable. So I don't care if Bernie got all the votes in the world if there is absolutely no way he's going to win against, like Trump. If he's never going to ever win, then it doesn't matter if we put him as the head runner for the party.
Well, yeah, but what do you think is the avenue to decide who's the most electable?
I guess that's the question, then, isn't it? Especially, you know what? Actually, here's something that would make me more okay with it. If everyone can vote for the candidate on both sides of the aisle,
Hmm.
right? Because that's the problem with the primaries is that you have to register as a Democrat or Republican. You only get one vote.
Yeah, there. It's also I think there are some states. I forget it because I've focused way too much on the primaries. There are some states where you can just flat vote for both candidates
Not
or for
really.
both parties. It's not a uniform thing. It's another problem with the primaries is that every state is fucking different.
See, I've talked about this
Uh,
before. That system pisses me off so much that
mm,
I'm tempted just to what's the fucking word? Register as a Republican, just so that way I can vote for the person that I don't want. Because at least then I have a say in maybe it being a slightly better person.
yeah, there's probably some calculation of that. I'm not sure which state would have to move in to do that, but I think that's something we can do in some places. But without getting caught on a specific tangent
Yeah,
there,
go ahead.
there are plenty of like specific changes that I would make to how it runs because the big problem that I have right now is even if there's some level of control that the bourgeois can have over our government that would outweigh the ability of
Eating stream with
uh,
Volp.
the proletariat, that can be a problem. And I believe that you're able to overrule that kind of stuff. Uh,
All right,
Number three,
go on. Yeah.
very basic. Do everything that Hoodie Volp wants to do. I'll let him have his fun. Create a social democratic paradise.
Yeah, I'm
I
basic as
think
fuck, dude. You better.
uh, it'll be pretty nice if we can have free healthcare and then we don't have to battle co-ops to establish universal healthcare. I think that's something
Yeah.
that we should have. Even as
Yeah,
a
sure.
matter of like not being socialism, I just think that's a thing that needs to happen.
I hung out with Trix a couple of weeks back, and we were playing some like drawing games. They're from Australia, and we were all making fun of Australia until they just go, "Yeah, well, I had to take an ambulance the other day, and it didn't completely fuck my life." And I was like, "Oh yeah, all right, fair."
But it extends past. I'm sure like Hoodie is wants more things other than just healthcare. I'm sure.
No,
He
I
wants his
think that
legalized weed too, right?
the American people should just go fuck themselves.
All right. Now, I'm really hoping your last point, though, addresses my biggest question. How do you... Fuck, I think I might actually know the answer to this. I'm going to ask it anyway. How do you get businesses to convert... What's the actual process of taking, let's say, Amazon right now and converting that into a cooperative? Or is it all new businesses from here on? How is that going to work? Is there a buy-in?
Like I would, so the fourth one, which is a little bit separate than that, because I consider that the process of actually becoming,
Okay,
rather
yeah.
than like the steps that need to happen in order for it to happen. But in order for that change to happen, I think there are some like pretty basic ways to do it. It starts with it has to be a slow transition, right?
Mhm.
It starts with incentives. It starts with the right of first refusal. It starts with all that good stuff. You know, I'm sure you know about that. After that, you move into forced plans where you have everyone has some level of equity, but it's not equal equity at first. That's what Bernie Sanders proposed. He had a plan proposing that the largest businesses required equity of all
Okay.
businesses. And then from there, the way that I plan to do it is you move sector by sector. I think transitioning like specific sectors, specifically starting with media first, I think that's the most important one. Uh, moving from media first and slowly transitioning these companies is the best way to do it. And also just having it so any new businesses that form would be transitioned.
Right.
You're so smart.
I I dub it the boiling pot method because you're boiling the capitalists in a pot and they don't know what's happening until they've
Would
been
you
boiled.
would you foresee... Oh my god, are those the cinnamon waffles?
Oh fuck yeah.
I was trying
The
to
best
figure out
kind.
what you were eating, dude. Those are the best.
So the problem is though, sorry to derail a little bit.
Go for it.
I let them defrost and then put them back in the freezer, so they're kind of gross. But
For a second, I thought you were talking about the capitalists.
boil those alive.
Yeah, we boiled the pot, then we put it back in the freezer.
Yeah.
What would it look like a state by state level at first? Like, is California leading the charge and then it's going to federal, or?
That could be the route to do it. I think the difficulty, and this is a big problem where you talk about co-ops. I have like spent an exorbitant amount of time researching this kind of stuff.
Nerd.
And yeah, thank you. The problem with doing state by state is any state that takes that first hit is going to be severely damaged because of work flight and because
Yeah.
of capital investment. So if you
Yeah.
take one state out first and you hit it state by state, you're just going to have all of the investment and all of the higher tiered workers move to other states.
It's kind of like what happened with manufacturing in the 80s, is what I think of.
Yeah, but instead of being a country thing, it'll be a state by state thing, which is
Yeah,
even
right.
easier. So I think the best way to do is do it industry by industry. Because then if you're interested in a specific market, you can transition that market via that route.
All right.
Interesting.
Now, I'm in a socialist society today, okay? And I just turned 24. I'm fresh out of college. I want to go get a job. What is the process of me getting a job in your utopian socialist society?
It depends on what job you want to get and also what degree you got, of course.
It's a
So
general
there are-
business degree,
yeah.
okay? I can go and
So-
I can be a manager anywhere, right? Go.
Okay. So it obviously depends on what job you want, right? And the reason I said that is you have to explain because there are multiple avenues. So number one, you could get a government job. No difference there. You
Right.
can go get a government job. It's run by democracy, but you don't have a say. Get over it.
Everyone has the same. Everyone holds capital in the country. All right, yeah.
Number two, in my specific system, I do not. My mandate is over businesses of a certain size.
Right.
Because there are a few reasons. I set my line at 5, but that can be changed based on when we get closer to the date, what that number entails. So if you want to work at a smaller business, you have no problems there, you can get hired just as you normally would. Uh, Situation 3, as we kind of talked about, you can be a contractor, and the specific way that you be a contractor is you register to become a contractor at your state's contracting union,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
this union can either reject or approve of you based on whether the job you want to do can actually be contracting. And
So
if you're
essentially,
accepted,
uh,
mhm,
so
I can
I
talk
get,
about that, but there's a whole other thing.
you just got me
Uh,
curious. Does that
mhm,
mean essentially, effectively, the state government would own the union?
yeah.
Now, who would directly have say in how that union is actually operated?
So I call it a union, but it technically operates slightly differently than a union
Okay.
because it uses the same principles, but it argues in a different way. So the job that I have is the problem with contracting within any system
Mhm.
is that you have an individual contractor arguing against a business. And that business has an exorbitant amount of control over the negotiations that take place, and you honestly have very little ability to bargain with them. If the or the I guess the California government is arguing on your behalf, it's a lot harder for that company to kind of fuck you over.
Right.
So essentially the purpose of this union is to bargain with the company for whatever desired results they ask for. And they just do the negotiations for you essentially, and then they'll match you up with every available business that wants to accept you.
Okay. Are
I think that's the only way to do it, and it will also the union will often reject people if they want to do jobs like being a waitress or something that you would have a full-time job for, but you would be hired as a contractor so they can avoid giving you voting rights.
why would you ever inherently pick this system over um mandated um unions in a capitalist system?
Oh, well, I'm very in favor of unions, but it's just a matter of it eliminates all of the problems of having
Oh,
different
I guess yeah,
classes.
if you continue to explain like what you want from the socialist system, like if I was going to try to buy into a company, what does that look like?
So you kind of mentioned this earlier. I wanted to ask you because you said you would have it so you have a mandated buy-in, but co-ops don't have that as it is now. There are two different like setups for how you can have co-ops. You
Hmm.
can have a buy-in, or you can have co-ops that forgive and like give up some of their investment for future benefits.
Can you
And
elaborate on that?
yeah, so they basically tank the hit on uh the equity hit in exchange for the future profits that that person would bring. And that's something that co-ops do currently. And there are a few co-op models that can do it. And the way that I look at it is whether I prefer one co-op model over the other, I don't really see the purpose in mandating a way that they do that, you know? If the
Um,
market favors one over the
sure.
other,
I
that's fine.
I'm
And
not
I would just
saying
have it
that I
that
would
way.
necessarily want to mandate a buy-in. However, I don't
Mhm.
see any reason that I would ever run a company and not expect someone to buy into the capital that I have already invested.
Uh, yeah, so as we have it right now, I believe it changes, but like the worth of a single employee under capitalism, to be fair, is you each employee makes about $100,000 worth of profit for a business every
Mhm.
year. And if that 100 and as you get bigger, it turns into 200,000, and if you're a Fortune 500 company, it's
Right, right, right.
$300,000 a year. And if that cost is that $100,000 is higher than the buy-in price, there is no reason why you wouldn't want to hire that person because they're going to be making more
Interesting.
money for you. And the other thing that is often kind of noted, I mean, is kind of looked over, is the bigger the company is, the less of an equity hit each employee will feel.
Okay, it's a good point.
So hurts less every time, because you have to remember how people are going to look at it. They're not going to look at it as, oh, the company is losing $50,000. They're looking at, I'm losing $10,000 of my own equity.
Right. Interesting.
So there are ways that you can do that, and
One,
I just don't really look at a reason to mandate it, I suppose. I think that in the end you might have a favorability towards ones that have a buy-in, but I just wouldn't mandate that, you know?
sure. I guess this brings up the question of essentially buying a stake into a company so that you can work there.
Hmm.
If we're going to compare it to like the stock market, which
Hmm.
stocks would you invest in?
Uh, it can depend, right? For a lot of people, it's gonna be, it's difficult. It's
Well, just generally, let's say
yeah.
you were going to invest in a stock right now. What would be your thought process while trying to pick that stock?
Obviously, you'd want to look for businesses that are doing well, right?
Okay,
That's the first.
that's it. That's all I was
Uh,
looking for. Because when we're talking about currently,
mhm,
when you're looking for a job, it is some form of market, right? I am
mhm,
trying to sell my service as a worker, and in return, they are going to pay me. But we've even seen it. I actually brought it up earlier. We talk about the market right now. It's becoming more of a buyer's market, right? Uh,
mhm.
the employees have more options, therefore, they're going to get better offers. When I look at this from whether or not someone's going to buy in, well, you mentioned why would you ever buy into a company that's losing money, and I guess that's kind of the point, is you wouldn't buy into that company. You would buy into a company that's doing well, because if the company's not doing well, obviously you're not going to make that return, but that's the same with any investment, right?
Mhm. Well, actually, if you think about it that way, wouldn't it be reasonable that on company businesses that need like a last hurrah and they need to do like absolutely anything to save their company, wouldn't it make sense for them to lessen that buy-in so that they can just bring in more employees to try and get their business back on track?
See, this kind of gets into the question of when you are looking. All right, so let's say there's currently one owner of a company. You have one share, and the company is
Hmm.
worth $100,000. So that one share is worth $100,000. Now we add a second owner. There are now two shares. Each share is worth $50,000. Now let's say the God, this gets into stocks are so fucking complicated. Like, you
What do
were
you want to know?
you're kind of
I
correct,
mean,
right?
like
Um,
I pose a question for me. I like answering stock questions.
okay. You know what? Let's go back. Let's just say one share costs $100,000. There's more than just the net capital of the company that determines the price of that stock, correct?
Sure. Yes.
Hmm.
So, for instance,
Sure.
we talk about availability, we talk about demand. Like, why is an NFT worth thousands of dollars? Well, it's only because there's a demand for that product. It doesn't necessarily have any physical capital or value. So, I guess my point is, if you're buying into a company, you're not just buying into the capital, you're buying into future possible returns.
Yes. No doubt.
Hmm.
All right.
But so, do you think that in a socialist system that it's like de-incentivizing? Is that what you're getting at?
Without a
Or
buy-in, yes.
I
so
view it as
then
the opposite. Isn't
Well,
it like you get more returns? Because the thing is,
wait,
you
wait, wait.
still get
Sorry.
the equity.
Think, but now we're
Hmm.
thinking of the workers. We're not thinking of the owners, right?
Hmm.
As an owner, I don't, I don't want to give up my capital, even if I think it might make me a greater return in the future. Why would I ever want to start a business when I can just go join another business?
Hmm. Yeah, then you don't have to. Like the way that I see
Okay,
it is,
you say that,
you can
but
have a buy-in or you don't have a buy-in.
well, so if
If
you have a
if the
world when there's a buy-in, how do
Mhm.
you like get people jobs if they can't buy in or don't buy in? I don't know if that's where we were going with that.
Well, like to
half,
quickly like
yeah.
cap that off, I can talk about that. But to quickly like cap that off, I if there might be like, I think there are going to be negatives. Obviously, there are going to be negatives to both models of cooperatives, right?
Kendall, I just saw your message. Sorry. What's up?
Uh, what I think can be interesting about it is I'm not particularly interested in talking whether one is better because it seems like such an inane process and it's so far
Okay.
in the future that it doesn't seem like if one is more like worse than the other, we can talk about that then, you know?
Okay. You need to get there
Uh
first, I guess. Just make the leap first.
yeah, and I'm not interested in like all like there are, I could mandate my like perfect cooperative, but then that actually probably
I'm from the
inhibits the
United
ability to
States, yes.
succeed. The more you mandate cooperatives, the more you only give them one path to success,
Right.
the less likely you're gonna get success.
Sure. So I think just the core is like allow workers to have the rights to their labor, I guess, and then let it hash itself out, the details from there.
As much as I sound like a dumb libertarian, let the market solve itself.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. I just think the
Hmm.
consequences of even small actions in a market can like just have a
Yeah,
massive impact, especially when we're talking about whole countries and GDP in its entirety, you know?
Yeah, and
absolutely.
the problem I think I mean if you see a business like succeeding, the market's gonna eat like I don't know. The market will favor successful businesses. So like in any manner in which the business is successful, the market will be like, okay, let's do that.
So
Like
like
that's where
if
the capital will flow to. That's where the workers will flow
exactly.
to.
So I like the line of conversation, but I kind of see it as it's almost a conversation that we don't necessarily have to have because we
Okay.
can let it solve itself.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, like if we were trying to build the perfect society from the ground up, that would be one thing, but luckily we can kind of work things out as we go.
Yeah. I mean, I think
If
I
we
don't
were
know.
to do it, of
I
course.
think every time we chat, Sen, I get a little bit more and more. I've come to accept it at this point.
I think my
You
biggest
can
thing,
hardly hear me. Oh man, I'm not even looking at chat. Terrible streamer.
I think you say it's tough to have those conversations now, and I agree it is tough, but I think when we're all so far to the left in this conversation that
Hmm.
it's worth us having those conversations. That way we can decide where we all
Yeah,
sit.
I absolutely agree with you, but the reason that I point that out is we're kind of trying to decide which way a market will go, you know? And even in economics, Hoodie, you studied economics, right?
Yes.
It is,
Can you give
as
me an
we
Economics
example
learned
of a
101.
bubble?
from, as you were talking about earlier, uh, a
Also, this is something that's talked about a
state-controlled
lot in
economy,
that
it's really
with
hard to
the
predict how markets will go.
general growth of
And
the economy and the
at the
massive
moment,
spikes in
I
GDP in
we
the
can
United
kind
States.
of
Like it can be
it's
disastrous.
interesting to try and predict what the
People
answer
are
will be,
terrified of buying
but
houses because of how
I don't know
expensive
how
they are
much
and how much
utility
money they
there
could lose
is
out
in it,
on.
you know?
Right?
Not shit talking or anything. I think it's an interesting question.
I click on the pen above chat. That's it. That's all I have to fucking do. I created custom commands to fucking change my stream title and shit. And all I have to do is click on this little fucking pencil.
How long have you been streaming, dude?
I don't know, dude. Not long enough. And I switched the scene because I started playing some Minecraft Dungeons and like it's all fucked up now. I guess.
The thing
Uh.
about to completely move back onto the topic,
Yeah, yeah.
I always find
Yeah.
it
Go ahead.
interesting that like on Twitch because this discussion is only happening on Twitch. Uh that we always like hyper focus on getting investment when I think that's not the immediate thought that you would go to when you were talking to this with a regular person. What I've because I have a friend of mine who's a doctorate in political science, and it didn't even come to his mind that that would be the idea. The first thought that came to my mind is how do you make a population of people and change them from passive workers to active workers? And I think that's like the big question that you have to ask because that's the big change that's happening. You're making workers become owners. And that's not a thing that can happen overnight. And even if you incentivize education over that, you're educating people on how to do something that they'll be doing in the future and they're not doing now. So that's like, it's weird that this is always like the focus. Like when I debated Econoboy, he immediately ceded on the investment portion because he's talked
Okay.
about it so many times.
Yeah.
I
How did that
think
go? I didn't. Did you post a YouTube video?
I need to. I just hate listening to my own voice, so it's hard to edit it.
You have a nice voice, then.
Thank you.
I think the reason why that question comes up so much is because of the inherent risk in starting a business where if you're taking on a lot of risk and then, like I said, people then obviously we bring up the point of buy-ins and everything, but I think a lot of people, this is going to be a question I'm going to ask in a second, a lot of people have a hard time grasping the fact that they can make a capital investment and then someone can buy off that investment from them a bit, which that could ease them in if you wanted to go with that system. That obviously other social programs will be introduced to help you raise capital, whether that be through loans or something like that. And I think a lot of people just have a really hard time grasping that.
Well, wait, I might have a misunderstanding.
Okay.
That's not how buy-in isn't buying someone else's investment. It's just buying it's buying the
okay.
overall
Well, you
percentage.
kind of have to buy
Well, yeah,
somebody
but
else's, right?
Where did
Because
that
somebody
come
has
from?
to already
That's
own
the way they're looking at it, is they spent
Well-
the money, they made the investment, why do you get just part of the business? And that's what the buy-in helps to remedy,
Well,
is
yeah.
you are buying that capital that they paid for.
No, the reason that I brought that up is because I don't know. Is that I could be wrong, but you're giving money to the company and you're not diluting their percentage, right? That's the big advantage of a buy-in.
Well, I guess
You don't-
that's true.
You don't dilute the percentage if you buy
right,
in.
because you're just increasing the value of the company.
Exactly.
Like if there's $10,000 in the pot already, and somebody else comes in and says, "Hey, I want in on the company. I'm gonna give the company another 5,000 to start up." They're gonna divide. They're gonna.
They now,
dilute
yeah,
their
they have the
percentage
same share.
Holding. Right, they're
So
gonna dilute their percentage holding, but they are going to not lose necessarily any money. They're going to dilute their potential future profit percentage because their holding in the company is less of a percentage now.
And the only the diluting that would happen would be if you give up some of the money on the initial buy-in, which is where
Well,
that's talked about. Like if you immediately forgive and you give someone immediate equity without a buy-in, then you have some
Yes,
dilution.
exactly. That is.
But
right,
if you
because you're
don't
not
do
adding
that-
any value to the company itself, you're just like giving part of it away, basically.
Yeah.
So if there's
So-
one share and I buy in, I'm buying 50% of that share, and when the third person joins in, they're buying
Well, right, but the
33%
share
of the total company, but it would be whatever 16.5 from the other
Yes.
people. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it's not really buying someone else's stock in that sense.
Right. No, you're not taking any of their like money. You're
I-
taking their percentage of ownership.
Yes.
I
And-
know it's
Thanks for the alert,
incredibly like annoying to talk about the specifics, and I sympathize with you. Don't worry.
Yeah, but the nuance is
Mm-hmm.
important, right? I can't figure out how to fucking play this game.
Well,
Oh my God.
before we can get to the nuance, and I guess this is where I was leading you, Sen, I'm very curious,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think we can
I'm
do
gonna
better?
go puff on a joint. I'll be back. You guys keep chatting.
What do you think we
Got
can
hit
do
with an arrow
better
anyway.
to try and educate people on what socialism actually is, what the difference between those market socialist and state-controlled economies are? How do we make people understand that better?
Well, I think luckily it starts with us, right?
I know. Okay, so
Uh,
I guess another big thing that something that's huge for me is how you present yourself and your rhetoric. Obviously, super matters. So, what rhetoric can we do better than, we just see Scrublord join the chat and say, "Oh, you're a dumbass. Get the fuck out of here. You don't understand." What can I say? Because I keep explaining it, but it's not getting across to the fact that there's a difference between state-controlled economy and market socialism, which is the biggest problem I run into when I try to explain that to people.
On that point, I actually think that's interesting because it's a question that I have an immediate answer to, but my pride does not let me always give this answer.
Okay.
And the answer I honestly think is to give up the label socialism.
Yeah, that was actually part of my thought process. Yeah, I kind of brought that up earlier. Okay, go on.
The label that I think works, I haven't done it yet, but I've leaned heavily towards calling myself a democratic marketeer instead of calling
Okay,
myself a
I kind of
democratic
like that.
socialist. You can just call it instead of you can like make a official label for it instead of calling it market socialism. You can call it economic democracy, which is pretty nice.
Okay, I like that.
But as a matter of labeling, I think that could be valuable, and we're lucky that we don't have to really come to that answer yet because we're not cementing it in a policy as of yet.
The problem
Uh,
is, in order to get to that point, we need to have
yeah,
people like Scrublord understanding
the
what we're
the
talking about at the
simultaneous
very least.
the simultaneous balance is, I think, at a certain level, it's okay to say market socialism when in our position, right? But I think when it's presented in policy form or when we're taking steps towards it, I think it would be best to call it democrat like some form of like democratic marketeering, economic democracy or something like that. Because I think if we are educated on it and we already know what it is, we already know it's market socialism. And the nice thing about the label socialism is it's very uh desensitizing. I mean, not desensitizing. It's very appealing to some, not appealing to others. So if we want to get a movement started, it's really positive to call it market socialism because there are already a lot of people that identify as socialists that might be amenable to it. But when you try and take it to a broader audience, as we will eventually do, like to the American people, to it's probably going to happen in Norway first, but when you take it
Yeah, when I
to
heard about
a
that, that
policy
that
level.
like blew my mind. I'm like, holy shit! I
Hmm.
never thought of. Essentially, you're invested in Dow Jones of that company or that country. Like you're invested in the total GDP, and I thought that was really fucking cool.
Yeah, it's been a big thing where I know like people socialists are trying to start push away while they still are very in favor of co-ops. They're also pushing social wealth funds as well, and I'm not
Hmm.
necessarily against it. I'm probably very favorable towards social wealth funds, but I do think that you can't have the vision that I view without co-ops, you
Yeah,
know.
could I give you an analogy?
Hmm.
We were talking about the two-party system earlier, and I said, well, it's not a problem with the two-party system. It's a problem with our voting system as a whole. You don't necessarily have an issue with um, social wealth funds. You, it's just that doesn't get you to the solution that you actually want. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think like social wealth funds are like incredibly positive, especially for just like invigorating an economy, right? It's
Hmm.
almost a better form of what you guys were talking about earlier with UBIs.
Okay, I actually need you to
Hmm.
100% educate me on something right now, so I'm putting my faith in you, okay?
I could try.
Explain the difference of socialism and communism.
Oh, uh, I guess it depends on what you're like talking about. Socialism
I don't like that
is
answer. That's not a good start.
well, like if you're, so I don't self-describe as a Marxist, right?
Right.
Because I think Marx is very old and white plus L plus ratio, of course.
Mm.
Uh, but when we talk about communism, Marx would say that communism, and you wouldn't really distinguish between socialism and communism at the time of Marx, but the distinction eventually became is that communism is stateless, moneyless, and classless, right? And socialism, even like I even
Wait, when you say
don't always.
state, does that mean? Because keep in mind, I'm a stupid American. Does that
Mhm.
mean like no federal government, essentially?
Uh, God, I don't want anarchism is dumb. uh, even though I do like a lot of anarchism, it's hard to explain. Essentially, what it means is if you would still have a government, you still have any level of government that you want to decide, and you can talk about what is the best government in a stateless society. The big difference, as I understand it, is that you have freedom of association, and you essentially have the right to live in that society, and they aren't able to use God. I hate talking about anarchism. It's essentially
Be an anarchist.
very few forces are forced
Thank you for the
upon you,
follow.
right? You're not required to do much in order to be in a stateless society. For example, like you wouldn't have to pay taxes because hypothetically there wouldn't be any taxes unless you agreed to pay taxes. I'm not necessarily like I don't focus on communism because I think that's 500 years in the future or like even farther. uh the
So,
big distinction is you would have no bourgeois, no race, no gender, all that kind of stuff. All kind of distinctions between people that are socially constructed would be removed, or at least be made nullifying.
all right, I'm gonna steel man just rapid fire off some points I hear from the other side, and I just want you to just give me quick responses.
Mm-hmm.
Every socialist society has ever failed.
Uh, Name me one socialist society.
North Korea.
Not socialist.
Of course they're
Even though-
socialist. What do you
even
mean
though
they're
true
not
socialism
socialist?
meme.
By what metric are they socialist? Please tell me.
That the country runs every single business and
That's not even true.
completely
I don't think-
controls the people.
If that's your definition of socialism, I feel bad for you, my friend.
You're not helping me here. I'm trying.
No, that's legitimate. If you want, that's an answer. Like it's
But
a
I
question that
literally
you don't
tell
want to
them
entertain.
why that's not socialism, and then they don't.
Mm-hmm.
They still don't understand or
Well, that's-
believe me. I don't know what it is. That's what I'm trying to get to the root
so-
of. That's my biggest issue.
If you want to get into it, the simple answer is because it's not democratic, right?
Okay.
So when we talk about the definition of socialism, technically, market socialism isn't even really like the true Marxist form of socialism, right? Because he wanted no markets, so obviously it's not socialism. I think the definition just changes like all the time.
What would
And
I
there were a bunch of
call?
different movements.
What would I
Mhm.
call North Korea then? So when they go North Korea or
State
China or
capitalist.
Russia, what is it?
You can call it state capitalist.
Yeah, that's a good. I think that's a good description. State capitalist. I like that.
You can also call it a Marxist-Leninist state, which makes it sound even scarier.
Oh, you don't hate socialism. You hate Marxist Leninists. All right, all right. I think it just comes down to the name. I think people were just taught you gotta hate the socialists and the communists.
Yeah, that's why I think like the discussion eventually does have to come up whether the title of socialism should be abandoned or not. I think there is some utility in calling it socialism in its early stages, because I think when you think of who's going to be most amenable to the system, who is the immediate base that already exists, that is already in favor of a lot of aspects of socialism. It's existing socialists. And calling it socialism is probably the best way to get their attention.
Yeah.
As you go farther on, I think, like for example, I disagree a lot with Andrew Yang, right? And I know you guys were talking about UBI earlier,
Don't you
but
dare talk badly about him.
one of Andrew Yang's did a lot of things right and a
Wait,
lot of things.
Wait,
wrong,
hold on. What's the name
but-
of his new party? Just so I can laugh.
The forward
The,
party.
The
Don't you dare meme on
forward
him. Don't
party.
you dare meme on him right now. Dude. Don't you do it.
All right. Sorry. Go on, Sam.
One of the very intelligent things that he did is he didn't call the system he was proposing UBI. He called it the freedom dividend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because UBI sounds scary.
Yeah,
it sounds
change
like
up the
it-
scary language. Okay.
It sounds like a disease that something that comes out of your dick or something. It does not sound appealing. And even if like there are dumb libertarians that I talk to all the time that say they're in favor of something very similar. They call it a negative income tax, which
Yes.
is
I've heard of that.
which is what I think that also sounds scary. So even if you call that, that's dumb.
We
Uh,
want no
you-
taxes at all.
We want.
But-
What do you think about? Should there be a cap on wealth?
I think that it could be warranted. The way that I would prefer to build a society is that you wouldn't need a cap on wealth.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, is if everyone has a certain say in the company, there's no way that you can ever have billionaires. And even if you do have billionaires, that's awesome, because that means a big company has a ton of billionaires.
Well, like, technically, so that's something that I think about a lot. And technically, there are some avenues that you could become a billionaire that I think would be problematic. Not even billionaire, but whatever version of billionaire you'd have in the society.
Right.
Number one big problem with the reason that you need to focus on contract labor. We have contract billionaires right now, whether they're musicians, sports stars, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Your way to get rich, and you need to fight that back. Another big reason that there are billionaires right now is the stock market. You would need to have some level of cap, because
dare.
I'm in favor of a non-controlling share stock market system, right?
So the as in the shares don't give you any power.
Correct, but you still get the benefit.
You have NFTs of a business.
Don't you meme on NFTs either? NFTs are fine.
Okay, wait. I had a huge debate about NFTs the other night.
My dumb idea, NFTs.
Look, if an NFT could say that my op in CSGO was held by a professional player in a tournament, I don't give a fuck. I want it. Alright? But
yeah, exactly. That's why I would fucking scoop that shit up real quick.
So
yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if Sane heard me say earlier, because I know the audio wasn't working. I am not inherently capitalist nor socialist. So whatever system I'm living in, I think I'm chill with it either way. I don't think I'd really vote for one over the other. But if I was going to be in a socialist society, I want no stocks. I want only the shares in the company that you buy into a share. There's no fucking stock market, non-controlling stocks. I don't know why I just don't like that.
How do they raise money if they need money? It's like a loan. I mean, stock market, like.
But that comes to how do we handle small business loans? How do we handle bank loans?
Yeah. Like then is the only way for them to get money.
But why would you ever buy a? I guess maybe I have to go do some more learning about non-controlling stocks and what the
because
what's the incentive behind them?
No, for example, if
money.
Me and you, if me and you right now go buy shares, and if most people that are not multi-billion-dollar businesses and hedge funds and big banks, they're not going to own the share that you own in the company is going to do nothing for in terms of in terms of voting.
But technically, you're getting a small part of the business.
Like
you
get
a
small per
small
share or whatever.
Not really. You're speculating on the profits of the business.
That's what you're doing. But the way that you're actually speculating on the say that you have in that company. You are paying to have a say in that company.
Yes, but no, I would disagree fundamentally. Unless you are
He's just a stock market simp.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying I don't see how this could exist under socialism.
No, it doesn't though, because in the sense of like any person, any individual investor, and like relatively small, even a large business is not buying a company so that they can vote and decisions like for the company. They're buying it because, like what Sen said, they're speculating on the future returns of the company, the future profits and stuff.
I guess would that be my question, is that would all stocks, instead of being any sort of controlling stock, every stock needs to pay back X amount of excess value or something?
I don't think it even needs to necessarily do that, because I mean there are companies that return dividends, but
that's what I'm wondering, is if you don't have that, you don't have any controlling say in a company, where is the value other than speculation?
There, I mean, I guess there's really not too much, because like you have no.
Well,
you
kind of say speculation, but the majority of people invest in the stock market based on speculation.
Yes, I'm not, but there is still an inherent value to you having that say in the company. The speculation is how much that say in the company is worth.
I guess.
Whereas if you're speculating just on the name of a piece of paper that says you own X amount of useless stock, I mean.
Right, but you can always sell that stock for potentially more than what you have. gotten.
But
what you
and
paid for it.
why would it
To
go up
also
in
mention-
value if the stock doesn't do anything for you?
Well, the company returns a profit. The company grew their revenue by 20%.
Well, that's
this
what
year,
I'm
so
saying.
they're-
Does that mean they're paying dividends to the stockholders then?
Well, they could just be reinvesting that money back into the business to continue to grow profits and.
Well, I know,
raise
but
the
then why do
value
you
of the
own the stock?
Because you're owning the stock in the hope that the price is going to double and sell
But
it.
why-
And you just doubled your money.
But why would the price go up?
Because the company is performing well because they got this in cash. So say.
Okay, but how does that add value to the stock?
Because they got an influx of cash. They sold shares. They did a share offering.
But why does
They
it matter if the company on my piece of paper is doing better if I don't get a dividend and I don't get a say in that company?
Because now if you want to, you can sell that share and make more money than you put in. Because you bought the share, gave the company money that they put in $10 and returned $100. So now they return that to you by the value of the stock going up because the company is now worth more.
Do you mind if I cut in a tiny
Go
bit?
ahead.
Because I think
Go
I
ahead.
understand. What do you define ownership of a company as?
You're asking me?
No. Honest research.
When I think of ownership of a company, it means one of two things. We talked about dividends, so that means if I am part owner, or I guess usually in our current system we call this an investor. So you either have some sort of investment in the company that is going to pay some sort of return, or you have a say in the company in the sense that you're the owner, you have a rule over what's going to happen in the company.
So, given that we have those two things,
Mhm.
which do you think is the problem that would be solved by socialism, in your mind?
I guess the problem we're looking to remedy is kind of I don't know what you'd call it, non-democracy in the workplace. You know, a totalitarian rule. That's what we're trying to remedy. That solves the problem with what I would call owners, but then we have to solve the problem of stocks and investors. And I feel if you don't have a set in stone dividend system, and they don't get a controlling share in any way of the company, then why would the value of a stock ever go up? Because it's purely based on speculation when you have no say and you're not going to get paid dividends. There's no reason to ever sit on a stock.
Oh, well, so that's a little bit interesting. The way that I would view it is the way that most people, I mean, a lot of people invest in stocks currently, is they look at it as a retirement plan, right?
Mhm.
And the way that I see it is you would invest this money and then you would eventually sit on it until you would then retire and you can either take out dividends or you can take it out in part or you can sell it, right? What I view as the important thing being solved here with co-ops is the fact that workers, well, to say less, they have no control, but they would have control, like, period, over the business. And whether that's ownership or not, and you could disagree over whether it's ownership, I don't necessarily view that as, at the very least, as problematic as having complete voting share over other employees.
Hold on, my friend's in the chat, and I just remembered she's actually a fucking what do you call the person who's in charge of like capital gains and buying stocks and stuff?
Finance, I don't know, something.
Yeah, thank you. She's
A
a
nerd.
finance specialist.
A
Yeah,
nerd.
me too. Let's get it in here.
Okay, I'm just seeing this. People don't buy stocks to be part of the company. They do it for investment reasons regarding growth and capital gains. I understand that's the reason why people are doing it. I guess the question isn't why they do it. It's a question of why does that growth happen if there's nothing behind the stock that you own.
So yeah, I think that's what I was gonna say. As I thought of this while Sen was talking. So, I'm gonna lock in here. So what I think we need a quick synopsis of why the price of stocks goes up in general. Like even in the current system, say the example will be in the current system, right? The price of a stock goes up because the buyer deems it to be more valuable than the person holding it does. So now I own a share of a company, and you want to buy it. Right now the share price is 5. You're like, hey, I will pay you $5.01, and then I sell it to you for $5.01, and then somebody wants to buy it from you for $5.02, and etc. Right? So and then you couple that with changes, growth in the company's profitability, their revenue, their long-term plans, their management system. Like, are they planning for the future? Are they like, it's prospective. Like, you're
Right.
looking at the future prospects of the company. Like, that's why the price goes up. I say I'm gonna buy it for more because I think that within the next 5 years, this company is gonna double their revenue, and yada yada yada, based on XYZ reasons. So that is what
Sure,
drives
but
that value up. So
does
the incentive I don't think of buying stocks is not to have a controlling interest. It may be to have dividends because there are stocks that do pay good healthy dividends, and people can, like Sen was saying with the retirement stuff, like you can make a living off of that, right? You have a stock that pays you dividends, you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in it, and you get a steady monthly income of dividends from the stock. It's a valid strategy.
so
But so that's just like one last point.
okay, yeah, go
The
ahead.
that's one reason, that's one incentive, and
Thanks
for
for
this
that,
is any
Glaze.
it depends on who you want to specify, right? Because to kind of combat Sen a little bit, a big incentive for large companies to invest in stocks and throw money around is that they will now have a controlling interest. But your point is that we shouldn't even give out controlling interests. So then I'd probably be okay with like these super large corporations that all they just do is like a hedge fund, for example. Like, I wouldn't be like that upset if a hedge fund wasn't able to exist in the new system. Um,
Um,
but yeah, go ahead.
actually,
Ranted a little bit.
I'm gonna completely forget about my last point because this is actually something I've thought about a lot. It's not that there aren't controlling shares. It's that the only people who have controlling shares are the workers.
Sure.
So that's why we talk about the whole buy-in process, blah blah blah. So you're
Yes.
buying in the ability to work there. So the question would be, the point is, why would we ever sell part of our company to someone we know isn't going to work for us?
Because all that you want from them is their money. You don't want their labor. You don't need their labor. You just need an influx of cash to work on a new project or do something. So you're only going to accept that influx of cash when you believe that the multiple that you will see in a return for that influx of cash is worth giving up your percentage of the company for. Because, if you're
You
going
know
to
what?
increase your yeah, go ahead.
Okay, no, I 1000% get it. All I needed to think of, and I think you just practically said this, we're just missing one word here. You're not buying a stock. You're buying essentially a manager role in the company.
Well, you're buying nothing. You're giving them nothing except your money. Like, that's all
But
your
no.
use
I'm
is.
saying what's going to get me to be okay with someone buying in as a controlling share in a company,
Okay.
without being a worker. I guess that does make sense under socialism because you can buy in as a manager. I own
Sure.
this much of the company and I have this much of a say in the company.
Yeah. But
Which I guess we've
you're
said
a
like 10
worker and
times, but like
owner.
I get it now. So I guess
Yes. Okay.
my other
Cool.
point before doesn't really matter.
All right. Rant
It's
over.
also to
I'm
another
dying. I don't know
point.
how you're doing, Volp, but I'm dying.
I just puffed on
I
that joint. I'm not doing too good.
I ran across a similar point when I was talking with Boy, or at least I think he brought it up in a future talk. He brought up a similar point with the banks, where he said that if you're accepting bank loans, that's the same thing as ownership of the company because they're paying uh, an interested loan back, and I thought that was incredibly stupid as well, because
Yeah.
along similar logic, and when we kind of talk about this kind of stuff, and the biggest pitch that I think works is the amount of problems it solves by not being able to have other people buy into with control over the company,
Hmm.
especially when it comes to the media. That's the big
Yes, I
one that
agree.
I
I definitely agree
view
with
as.
that. Like, and I noticed that you brought that up before and didn't really like point it out, but yeah, 100% like that would be the first company that, or the first industry that I would want to
Well,
convert.
that's like I challenged Hans to a debate, and then he quit politics.
Yeah.
But that's gonna be my big seller because it's a new argument that I think I'm gonna love because
I actually
capitalists.
really love it. Like, and you could sell me on it right now if you
Well,
did it
because the
well.
big thing that capitalists always say is they only care about the industry that makes the most money and
Yeah.
is the most profitable. But who the fuck cares if the media is bringing home record profits?
Yeah.
How,
Even if
how
it
do
did
you
harm the media,
incentivize media to be run more honest?
Take away the
incentive.
profit motive.
Yeah. Well, the way that
I
I
mean,
view it is in addition to I would love a government funded media source. That's something that
yes.
I'm just in favor
Yeah,
of.
okay, the devil's
But
advocate, NPR kind of sucks.
I don't know. I like
wouldn't be in favor
NPR.
of it. NPR is boring. I'm more mean.
I
Even
like
like the
boring.
BBC, which is sucks as well. I'm more like the Canada's version. I think Canada's is all right.
I have no idea
Uh,
about that.
I talked to a Canadian about it, and they said they're pretty good things.
Okay, I met some. I
But
know a couple Canadians now, so I'm gonna have to pick their brain on that.
but I think cooperating the media solves like so many problems because number one, it serves as a test to whether you can cooperatize an industry, and it relatively succeeds. Number
Okay.
two, it solves the problem of any nefarious other businesses buying controlling shares of the media and then being able to push any propaganda that they specifically want about their
Hmm.
businesses. For example, coal plants, oil companies, and all of those
Yeah.
terrible people. And
How
then
Hey, they're just trying to make money and make a living, feed their
the
family.
people that are buying into those companies, not
how
the workers.
do you respond to people who would ask? Uh, how would you respond to concerns of the state controlling the media?
Oh, I wouldn't. I would have a single funded news source, and then you would have other, not private, but democratic institutions, competing
Co-op,
with
co-op
the
media
media.
outlets. Is that what
Yeah.
you're suggesting? Right?
The
Yes.
problem I have with co-op media outlets is even if you make it a co-op, aren't the people working there still incentivized to make the most profit as possible?
Yeah. Well, technically, they're incentivized to make the highest wages rather than the highest profits.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, you know,
a
profits
lot
are
of
going to
times you'll
reflect the
see.
wages in a socialist
Mhm.
society, but
Well,
I get what you
a
mean.
lot of the times, based on there's a distinction there, because in co-ops that we have right now, and I can only go off of existing data, which might change, but a lot of times co-ops will favor stability over record
Right.
profits.
Well, either way, that's going to
Hmm.
they're
Yeah,
incentivized to increase profits. My point is, how
yeah.
are they going to be incentivized to tell the truth rather than to continuously pump out the garbage we get now? Because the
I
garbage
think
that
that's a
we make now is what
yeah.
sells.
I think that's a matter of just free speech. You have your government funded news source and you do the best you can. I don't propose market socialism as a solution to the
That
media.
problem, really? Yeah.
I think it
I
is
think don't get me wrong. I bit my
yeah,
tongue. Sorry. I do think that would at least help a little bit, but I still
yeah.
think that incentive to get the really juicy news stories and the clickbaity stuff is still gonna be there. You know.
Yeah, trust me, the one aspect where I think there'll be elements where it's better, right? Because even though they're going to be going for clickbaity titles still, because that's what works, they won't be making clickbaity titles about uh no
Their
wait,
mass investors want them to.
that and specifically stuff like global warming isn't real.
Yeah.
It'll be able to, while you still want to get the watch time, there's somewhat of a better incentive to promote policies which favor you as a whole, and rather than how these industries work currently. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it solves everything. Like uh that's a big thing where I recently heard the argument is I will make manufacturing consent is a big problem under capitalism. And then the new talking point is that market socialism doesn't solve manufactured consent. And
Is it manufacturing consent?
this is the big socialist thing.
Okay.
It was a book written by Chomsky who basically said that the more media in a certain direction you push out, the more people are just going to naturally agree with that,
Okay.
regardless of whether they actually critically think about it or not.
Okay.
Hey,
So
Arisval. I think we might be
Currently,
wrapping up in a second.
like
Oh,
Fox
I
News is
appreciate that follow, though.
manufacturing consent,
Okay,
which
I've
I
heard
would
this term
say,
before. I think I've heard this term.
yeah, which is a big reason that conservatives exist right now, even though they might not be arguing in their own self-interest. They're being misled to do that
Yes.
because they're being dulled out by the media.
Yeah. So did
And
you hear
while
what I
that,
was talking about with the Cambridge Analytica thing?
no, I didn't.
So do you know what Cambridge Analytica is?
I've heard of it.
So they're the company that Donald Trump used to like be his social media marketers or whatever, basically.
Okay.
They created Crooked Hillary, first of all, and second of all, they have been used in multiple countries to essentially like rig elections with money. They take data from social media platforms. They said that they gathered over 5,000 data points on every single U.S. voter, and they marked people as quote unquote impressionables. They are people who didn't necessarily have strong beliefs one way or the other yet, and they shoved Donald Trump content down their throat, and now
Mm.
that created a massive base of Donald Trump voters because they were these impressionables that they were able to feed like super strategically this data about like you believe this and you don't get any other information whatsoever. You only get this.
Yeah, and there can still be a large amount of like problematic elements when it comes to markets, because this is not a problem of socialism. It's a problem of specifically
Yes,
markets.
correct. I agree with that
And
100%.
as long as we have a market, which I think in this case I am actually in favor of a market, even if I prefer bad media to solely state controlled media.
Sure, agreed.
And that's just there. You could probably make that would be an interesting debate to have, but while you would still have an element of sensationalism, like especially like because market socialism doesn't solve racism, it doesn't
Sure.
solve sexism, so you can
Mm.
still rile people up, and while it
Mhm.
might help it in some degrees, but you can
Yeah.
still rile people up about differences between people, and you can still make people fear immigrants and all that lovely stuff to get views.
Yeah.
But I do think
Can I?
it
Sorry, can
solves a
I
ton of
jump in
problems.
just a second? I'll let you finish up, but then I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
get going in a minute. So.
sure.
Oh.
You can. I'm done.
Okay. Yeah. No. I think this was fairly productive, but obviously, we talked about earlier, Volp. It'd be cool if we could get me and sign in with like some people who are more capitalists, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna be
Yeah.
straight about the ulterior motives. Obviously, going into this conversation, my main concern is rhetoric and how we talk about socialism. I think a
Okay.
lot of people not understanding what socialism is. I kind of want to not I don't want to say use people as guinea pigs, but be able to see what actually works to get people to at least
You wanna hash
understand
out
what
like
it is. Yeah.
yeah.
So we can have these more nuanced conversations rather than only the people who know what socialism are socialists and versus
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
yeah, of course. You have to figure out the way in which to bring people over. And I think to like make one last point because I'm gonna
yeah.
probably end the stream as well. Like, you know, we need togetherness, I guess. We need like ways to calm rhetoric. Like it's insane to me how much like the left eats itself. And like that needs to not happen because it's just like we're trying to do the same thing. You need to calm your rhetoric and like speak to people who you believe that you can sway their opinion. And I don't know. That's all I got. I appreciate you guys for coming to chat.
No,
Yeah,
thanks for having me. And
I
Sign,
just gotta.
have I seen
Huh?
you like debate someone big before? I feel like I recognize your profile picture.
I mean, I debated Ghana Boy.
It might just be
I
that I'm
debated.
thinking of.
I debated. I don't know if you consider him big. I debated Fabian Liberty, who's like the biggest ANCAP.
Mm.
Uh,
He debated this really pretty big guy called Hoodie Volp.
I maybe
You
you've
should
seen
try.
me.
You
I
should
I
try
mean,
and
I
debate
debated
him. You should try and debate him.
as soon as I pushed that. He's been like kind of like playing with the idea of dropping politics as well, though, hasn't he?
Not really. No, I wouldn't say so.
He's been like alluding towards it, but you never know.
No, I just
Yeah, I don't
recognized
know.
your picture. So,
Thank you. It is a great picture.
It is a great picture, really.
all right. Volp, good to see you. Sign, very
Yes.
nice meeting you, and
Yeah,
I'll
good
message
meeting
you about having that conversation next week. Hopefully we can
Alright,
get some
sounds
guys
good,
in.
man.
All right.
All right.
Nice meeting you all. Bye.
Have a good night, guys.
Okay.
That was a good time. Thanks for coming, everybody. I'm gonna go play some fucking video games!